Welcome back, team. Welcome back. If you're present, ready to go, ready to rock and roll, drop some P's. And I think we got P's from nearly everyone there, which is fantastic. Unfortunately, I just had a text from Nick and he said that he's had a Telstra outage, so he may not be able to join us, which is very sad. But we'll be able to connect with him via email, and that will be that. So very sad, but we'll connect other ways, other times. Yeah, I know it's really unfortunate, Beck. It is unfortunate. So, on that note, over the last period of time there, over the breaks, I sent you through an email, and the email was titled Assessment Review Master Checklist. Drop a G in the chat if you got that email. That would be great. The only reason I'm recording this segment is for Nick, and for anyone else that has tech issues, I'm going to record the following bits of segments there. Naturally, I won't record the interviews, but I'm just recording the teaching part, if that's okay with you, just so that no one misses out. So, awesome. Now, I just need to give you a little bit of a background around this checklist, and then we're going to do some things with it. So here's the deal, folks. Throughout this week, you guys have done a number of validations. Everyone drop a V for validation in the chat if you remember doing a validation. We've done a lot of them, right? And that was essentially filling out the reports and, copying what was on my screen and all of that, right? Now, we had an interesting question this week, and it was, how often would I actually do that, right? And it was a very fair question. And what we find in the world of the vet sector is validation it's not done enough. That's my personal view about it. And as you even probably experienced from the realistic role play that I showed you on day one, validation's not done enough, right? And also, even if it's done, the right people are not involved. And also, what happens is people are often ticking and flicking a checklist that they sometimes are not able to personally connect with. Let me give you an example of that. Everyone drop an A for authentic in the chat box for me if you could, please. You see, I just want to give you a quick example of this. For me, it was only about 6 years into even teaching the TAE that I discovered that how do we actually check if an assessment creates or allows for authenticity? And I asked that to someone and they said, oh, that's easy. On the front cover, there is a student declaration for the student to sign that it's their own work. And I'm like, oh, okay. Well, that kind of makes sense. Oh, I get that. Okay, cool. Right. And then I'm like, current. I'm ticking a box about currency, but how would I check if the assessment even speaks to currency? And the person at the time, my mentor, her name was Shashi, she said, oh, well, if there's a place for the date and the date's actually correct. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, I guess that makes sense, right? So all of these things, sometimes we get lost in definitions. Drop a yes in the chat if that makes sense. We get lost in definition, but we miss the trees for the forest, right? So what I actually did is I went ahead and I created a master checklist, And I'd love you to go ahead and open this up. And once you've got it open, just drop an O in the chat for me if you could, please. And just drop an O. Awesome. Now, one of the things that we need to appreciate about validation is also, I have a bit of an analogy like the block, right? And building a house. And I can't remember if I've shared the analogy with you. If I already have, apologies, but I want to share it with you. Now, everyone drop a B for block in the chat box for me if you could, please. You see, the thing is, and I've never built a house before, if I walk onto a construction site of the block, I will maybe see some things. Maybe I'll see 2 or 3 things that could be an issue or a challenge or a problem. But if somebody that's been building houses for 20 years sees what's going on the block, they are able to see far more in depth what are the problems, the challenges, and the issues, and they're able to create a list of 70 pages of defects and problems. Drop a yes in the chat if that makes sense. So you can only see to the level that you can actually see or experience, right? And for example, if I showed you a great trainer or a great presenter and I said, what are the mistakes that he is making, you will only see to the degree that you actually are aware of, right? So this is one of the reasons why I actually created this checklist, because I came to think, okay, when I look at an assessment, what do I actually look for? And I put it completely on paper, and I unpacked everything that was in my head, right? So I thought, okay, authenticity wise, what do I actually look for? Well, I looked for a student declaration. I look for an AI policy and procedure. I look for all of these things, but you don't know to look for it unless you know to look for it, right? So this list I created, and I've sent this out to consultants in the vet sector, and they have absolutely loved it and given me some very positive feedback on it. But essentially, what I've done is I've created reviewing an overall assessment tool, coming down, reviewing a written test. We've got reviewing the questions in the written test. For example, is there a word count for every question, or at least guidance on how long an answer should be? We've got section 3, reviewing practical assessments, right? We've got section 4, reviewing instructions for a workplace portfolio or project. We've got analyzing the marking by an assessor across an entire assessment. Welcome back, Anne. Hopefully you're okay there. So what I've done is I've put together this checklist, and not yet, but in a moment, you are going to head to a breakout room by yourself. And I'd like you to simply read through the checklist and find what's one or two things that really stand out to you. So it could be, yeah, I really love how it mentions, does it mention WHS and safety requirements? Does it mention all necessary awesome, and it seems like Nick is having the same problem there. And I'm recording this segment here as well. So if there's anything that you miss, Anne, you'll definitely get a recording of this, right? So basically what you're going to do, Anne and everyone, is you're going to read through the checklist and find one thing that really stands out to you. And essentially, you may never be involved in assessing. However, this checklist will be something you can come back to or even share with other people if you are ever in the space of using assessments or anything like that. So on that note, head to your rooms. All you're doing, reviewing it, find one thing that you like about the checklist, come back and be ready to share one thing that really stands out to you from the checklist. And I'll probably give you maybe about 2.5 minutes to read through it, and that should be enough time. Have fun, and I'll see you back here in 2.5 minutes. Just read through it, and hopefully you got the email with the checklist. If you didn't, that's okay. Well, it's not okay, but hopefully it did hit your email box.
Hi, Mike. No one was there with me.
No, they're not meant to be. You're there by
Oh,
yourself.
sorry.
That's all right. That's all right. Alrighty, five, four, three, two, one, and welcome back, team. Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. Welcome back, team. Thank you so much for having a look through that checklist. We're going to check in with some people. I'm going to come over to Kylie. What I'd love you to do is share what's one thing you noticed or really stood out to you from the checklist. What's one thing you really liked about it? Over to you. Go for it.
Having benchmark answers for the RPL documentation evidence. I don't
Really
have
cool.
those.
Really cool. Great pickup. I like it. I like it. Brad, coming over to you. What's one thing that really stood out to you from the checklist? Brad, over to you. Go for it.
I liked how it asked you a question to check something, and then the next box would say, help narrow it down for you. It'd
Mm.
say, um, for instance, number 17, are all questions sufficiently contextualised? The next box says, which questions is it? So it narrows it down for you to be specific.
Nice. Nice. I like it. Very cool. Very cool. So there's no wiggle room, so to speak. Very cool. Very cool. And we'll come over to Curtis. Over to you. What do you like about it, Curtis? Go for it.
I had a similar thing to Brad,
Mm.
how it's very specific to make sure that everything's getting validated the same way.
Mm.
Um, yeah, I also liked how it made sure that there was marker guides for the assessments to make sure that they're actually getting marked the same way as well.
I know. Yeah, bonus, right? Bonus. Awesome. Really cool team. So for the people that haven't shared, for Byron, for Dan, for everybody else, please go ahead, drop in the chat via a sentence. What's one thing that really stands out to you from the checklist? Something that stands out you really like about it. Go for it. Team, drop in the chat. What do you really like about it? No ambiguity. Very cool, Beck. Excellent. How easy to see that it's suitable. Very cool. Very cool. Reviewing practical assessment relevant to my role. Awesome. Written test. Beautiful. Nice. Nice. Cover in a straightforward way. Excellent. Nice. Very cool. Rob, breaking down in sections, clear specific questions, clarifying questions section. Beautiful. Yeah, nice, Dan. I love it. I love it. I love it. Okay, awesome. All right. So if it is a resource you can go off and use or see how you might be able to apply in your workplace, fantastic. This is just something I created out of, my own incentive there, on sort of my own initiative, to really create some clarity for anyone that's working in the assessment space that might ever need to, want to, as part of a validation or just independently after they've made an assessment, just to check everything, make sure it's going to go smoothly. Crystal clear with the requirements. Beautiful, Betsy. I love it. Well done. Well done. So that's my gift to you. You can go away and use it, or if you're not going to use it, that's totally fine. I'm not going to be offended in either way, shape, or form. But if you got some value from it, drop a V for value. Maybe you'll get some value from it going forward. Maybe you can share it with some other people in your workplace there as well. And I used to call it Mark's master checklist, but naturally you can call it your master checklist if you want to. So thank you so much for taking a look through that, and have some fun with it. So on that note, I'm going to dial us all the way back, and we're going to think about workshop 1, workshop 2, but even workshop 3 as well. Now, one thing I just want to reignite, folks, is the word ripple. The word ripple. Everyone drop an R for ripple in the chat for me if you could, please. The word ripple. Excellent. Now, one thing that I mentioned on pretty much day 1 of your entire TAE was that how we show up is essentially going to determine how far our learners go and how much they grow. Drop a yes in the chat if that makes sense. So the better you show up, the better your learners are going to learn and grow. So it kind of seems self-evident, but we really want to remind ourselves that the TAE is not just a piece of paper. It's a gateway to performing a role and impacting lives, right? Now, as I've talked about previously, whenever I deliver the TAE, I actually do take it seriously. And I actually believe there's a little bit of a mantle on my shoulders and a little bit of pressure, because as we've talked about, when you guys watch me, you're essentially thinking about, okay, what is he doing? How is he doing it? And what's possible in the world of training. So not yet, but in a moment, what you're going to do is you're going to head into a breakout room, and I'd love you to simply share with your partner what is potentially something that you have seen me do or experienced this course with me over workshop 1, 2, or 3 that's really stood out to you that you would like to try bringing into your own training delivery. Now, you may never deliver online. I totally get that. But even in the face-to-face space, there may be things that you see me do that you'd like to take into that world as well. Now, I also am not naive to not realize that many of you are also very experienced teachers and trainers as well. So maybe there's things that you've noticed from each other as well, which is awesome. However, back in workshop 2, we really looked at the science of engagement, building that suspense, and all those different components of engagement there that maybe were new for you or great reminders for you. So what I'd like you to do is you're going to head to a breakout room and simply share with your partner what's one thing that you've seen me do or experienced that you really want to replicate or model going forward in your own delivery as well. If that's clear for you, drop a C in the chat. If you got a question, drop a Q, but I think you should be all good there. And let me just make sure everyone's got a room. Yep, they do. So you're going to have a chat and it's going to go like this. Hey, yeah, how you going? Good. One thing I've really enjoyed, or one thing that Mark does that I really like to emulate going forward is I want to copy how he does X, Y, Z. On that note, head to your rooms and I'll bring you back in probably about 2.5 minutes. That'll give enough time for everyone to have a share. And I think in this case, from numbers there, we're going to have just partners there. So that'll be fantastic. So I'll see you back here in about 2.5. Go for a team. What'd you enjoy? What'd you love? And what are you going to copy and make your own? Head to your rooms and have a quick share. Awesome. Welcome back, team. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. So we're going to check in with some people. And first of all, I would love to hear from Curtis. Curtis is going to unmute himself, and I'd love him to simply share what's one thing that he discussed in his group that really stood out to him that he'd love to replicate, model going forward for him. Curtis, over to you. Go for it.
So one thing that we spoke about was how you repeat words to make sure that we're paying attention and yeah, getting the important information that we need.
Very cool. Very cool. And we'll do all acknowledgements at the end there. Went really, really cool. Loved it. Thank you so much, Curtis. I'm going to come over to Dan in a moment. I'm going to ask him to share. Dan, over to you. What was discussed in your group? Go for it, Dan.
One thing I discussed was definitely the digital kind of world of delivering. So you using all your resources and being able to screen share, delivering to people on the other side of a screen and making sure they can see all the information.
Nice. Nice. I like it. I like it. Very cool. Anne, coming over to you. Go for it, Anne.
Are we sharing for both of us?
No, just yourself personally.
Okay. Mine was your vibe, Mark. For me, when I look at what we've done, and the vet can be a very dry world, you have brought a very positive energy to it, which has kept us engaged very well.
Very cool. Very cool. Vibe matters so much. It truly does. Troy, I'm going to come over to you. Troy, speaking on behalf of yourself there, go for it, Troy.
Yep, pretty much the same. Like, noticed from day one the energy, and although I don't know if I can match it, like I can see how crucial it is to delivery and making sure it's not on a low energy level. It's got to be up on a high energy level. So, yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. Love it. Rob, over to you. Go for it.
Yep, I'll let you know. Not right now, but in a moment. That's one. There you go. Repeating important informational words. You keep going, keep going, keep going. And I go, hold on, why is he saying this? All right, I better write this down. And then, yeah, again, engaging. So online engagement is pretty tough. Curtis, I spoke to Curtis and I said, look, in the classroom, I use my hands and move around. Online, you can't. So you've got to do it, a different way, and getting us to put in a P in the chat or a T in the chat just to keep us engaged and locked in.
Nice. I like it. I love it. Well said. Well said. Very cool. Betsy, over to you. Go for it. Thank you, Rob. That was really cool. Betsy, over to you.
I'll go with what Rob said actually, because the engagement from engaging the people from different online is really hard, and you're keeping it really steady all the time, and everyone get involved in every activities, and the reinforcement you're doing all the time is one of the valuable thing, I think.
Very cool. Very cool. Love it. Byron, coming over to you, sir. Byron, what did you share personally for you? Byron, go for it.
Yep. So I thought the purposeful repetition was very handy in getting things across that you might want to take note of. So yeah, the repetition for the important things that should definitely be written down or followed and done.
Very cool. Beck, over to you. Beck, go for it.
Just the super organized prior to the lessons. You don't ever seem to fumble on what you give out. Like you're very you know exactly what email's coming out to you. And so it makes it easier to manage when there are tech issues and all that, because you're not trying to find crap like I often do.
Very cool. Very cool. I like it. I don't think my mum would ever agree with you as I was organized, but that in the world of training, I appreciate what it's like to be on the other end of it. So yeah, being organized, so critical, so important, so cool. Love that you mentioned that. And that's going to link to something that we're going to talk about shortly.
I just might mention too, which will probably make me fail this course, but Often when I'm trying to get into leadership space, it's that getting people to do what you need them to do without telling them exactly. So the power of ignoring answers is really being quite interesting in seeing the way it's managed, because it actually makes us think about and reflect and how we can improve our answers.
Really cool. Really cool. Love it. Love it. Really cool. Really cool. Really cool. I think there's a lot of depth to that comment. It's really cool. Brad, over to you. Go for it, Brad.
Yeah, one of the things that stood out for me was the fact that no one's left behind. And you always make sure everyone is understanding everything before you move too far ahead. And sort of along with that is that no one's made to feel silly or belittled, but the opposite, everyone feels empowered instead.
Very cool. Very cool. Great comment. I love it. I love it. Yeah. I just come from the space of it is very vulnerable to be online, and also it's very vulnerable to be in a position where you're learning something, but even in your training and presenting course as well. Everyone drop a yes in the chat if you would agree that sometimes it can feel a little bit emotionally vulnerable to be in a learning environment. Drop a yes if you'd agree with that. And yeah, so much of the learning that I do has been from being in environments where these things haven't been respected. I'm like, yeah, I gotta do the opposite. I gotta make sure people feel safe and like they belong, and they're all part of a team, that we all care about each other, because we really do. And you have to, even more in the online environment. Kylie, over to you, and go for it.
Because it's online and so many days in a row, it would be very easy to drop out, become distracted and disengage and all those sorts of things. So I like how you do something in a short segment of kind of explaining a bit of theory, and then we jump on and we'll do something together as a group, and then we jump into the breakout rooms and then kind of continue on with the learning. So the learning happens through the doing rather than just being spoken at.
Very cool. Very cool. Very cool. I love that. It's a great summary. It's a great summary. Really cool. Really, I love that. I'm going to take that and run with that. Everyone drop an AJ in the chat. Awesome job. Really, really appreciate you guys sharing that. And just know that so many things that I've written about in my book, I have basically just modeled off other people and then made my own, right? And one thing that you get to a point of is essentially one of the things, I don't know if they taught you guys this, but the pillar technique. Do you guys remember in workshop 2, we went over the pillar technique and coming up with your 3 pillars, or just drop a yes in chat if you remember doing that. Maybe I did it with you guys, maybe I didn't. But it's, yeah, awesome, right? So that pillar thing, being able to do that pillar thing basically allowed me to, this week, the feedback segment that I taught you guys, that is something that I haven't taught for a while, but I reignited in my memory. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. I could bring that in, but I didn't have to spend 2 or 3 hours crafting it. All I did is I just asked myself 2 quality questions, which is, what does bad feedback look like? And I'm like, okay, cool. It looks like that. I came up with a bunch of examples. And then I came up with, all right, well, what does the good job look like? And I came up with my pillars and ready to go. And I delivered it, right? So that is something that you can allow yourself to do when you start to step into the power of the pillars, so to speak, and start to do some of the things creatively that we did back in workshop 2, and even as you've experienced in workshop 3, which is awesome. All of your comments, I really, really appreciate them. Thank you so much for that. And I know that all of you are going to take in various aspects and deploy it in your own unique, perfect style, which is going to be awesome. On that note, folks, we are going to take a break, and by my clock, it's coming up to 9:50 there. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, I'm going to share with you what I consider the 12 steps to mastery of training. Because what we find is that people, do their TA, but then they have the question of, well, what's next? How do I get even better? Now, I would postulate, even if you're a teacher, you would want to continue to get better and better over time. And that's a really cool thing about training, that we can always work on ourselves to have a bigger impact, right? So when you come back, I'm going to share those 12 steps and things that you can do going forward, and things you can think about, and things that you'll find quite interesting there. So on that note, folks, I will see you back here. Let's come back at 10:10, I think is what I said there, folks. Back at 10:10. Thank you very, very much. And I'll see you back at 10:10. Thanks, team. Alrighty, everyone's back. Fantastic, fantastic. If you're ready to go, drop an R in the chat. Let me know that you're ready, and that'll be great for me if you could. Excellent. All right, so on that note, we're now going to look at what I call the 12 steps to mastery, which is by happenstance turned into 15, but we will call it the 12 steps for now. Everyone drop a 12 in the chat for me if you could, please, and let's get ready to write, let's get ready to learn, and let's get ready to take on some new ideas there, folks. Now, as I said, I love that, Anne. I created this list because people often said, well, what's next after the TAE? How do I actually learn and grow and continue to develop as a trainer and presenter, right? And you guys, many of you are teachers, which is fantastic. Many of you are existing trainers, which is fantastic. Many of you are becoming trainers, which is fantastic, right? So wherever you're at, basically, this is what I would say are the 12 to 15 things that I do that potentially are things that other trainers don't do that maybe you can add into your repertoire to really help you accelerate your growth, if that kind of makes sense, right? So there's going to be 12. Oh, there's actually going to be 15. But through them, I'm going to check in with you and we're going to do a debrief on them and all of that. But on that note, as we go through each, I'm going to give you time to write them down and I'm going to explain each of them. And I'm also going to send you a copy of this list at the very end there if you do want it there. So on that note, I'm going to go ahead and bring this one up. Now, the first one that I'll share with you is called essentially related to I see training as a game of chess, folks. I see training as a game of chess. And essentially, you want to be being able to be flexible behind the scenes. Be flexible behind the scenes. Everyone, drop an F for flexible in the chat box for me if you could, please. You need to be able to think on your feet and you need to be able to make various moves, but you need to do it behind the scenes. Now, let me just give you a very quick example of this. So, this will seem like such a small thing, but when I describe the opposite, you'll get it. So earlier this week, we actually had a brand new student that was potentially joining this cohort. And on Monday, I had an entire plan. I had about 8 things that I had factored in for this brand new person joining our session. And we were going to do this, we were going to do that, we were going to do that. And we had all these things that we were going to do because this new person was joining in to make them part of the crew. I was actually like it was probably 2 minutes before the session started. I got an email from admin department saying XYZ person's not actually coming to the training today. And internally, I'm like, okay. So I had about 8 things on my session plan I had to scrap instantly. I'm like, okay, not doing that. And I had to go, okay, cool. So I need to get myself back on track, but I had to do it behind the scenes and the art and science of being able to make moves without people knowing about it. Just drop a yes in the chat if that makes sense. When you can do things behind the scenes without people knowing, that's when you get to the place of mastery, right? And unexpected things happen. It's like, all right, cool. Let's roll with it, right? But you don't make a big deal out of it. Why would you do that, right? So be flexible behind the scenes. And when I teach this face to face, one of the things that I always tell people, one of my favorite phrases is, I'm so glad that happened. Everyone drop it. I'm so glad that happened into the chat box for me if you could, please. And the idea is that anything and everything that happens, you use to your advantage, An amateur walks into a room and they turn on the projector and it doesn't work. And they go, oh, sorry, everyone, the projector's not going to work. I can't show you my PowerPoints. A professional walks in and projector doesn't work and they say, yep, I'm so glad that happened. And you say to the class, fantastic, today we're going to have a great opportunity to actually work and experience the content, and we're not even going to need to look at the PowerPoints. Drop a yes in the chat if you can hear the reframe in that delivery there, right? Amateurs go, oh, the world. Professional goes, cool, I'm so glad that happened. Let's roll with that, right? And that's just, I didn't learn that from anywhere other than myself going, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit. Well, the idea of the magician came into it. A magician doesn't walk on stage and go, oh, there's a problem with the trick. It's like, no, everything happens for whose benefit? Mine. Everyone drop an MINE in the chat box for me if you could, please. Everything happens for my benefit. I'm so glad that happened. And you become flexible behind the scenes, right? And my experience in hospitality, we have front of house and back of house. Front of house, never find out what's happening back of house, right? So I'm so glad that happened on Monday, because that actually gave me an example to share with you guys, which was fantastic. And I actually completely rejigged our icebreaker and a couple of other activities we did on Monday that I was thinking of on the spot, but it was because I was able to be flexible behind the scenes, right? Everyone drop another F in the chat for be flexible behind the scenes, right? Cool. So next thing, as I said already, I see training as a game of chess. Everyone drop CHESS in the chat box for me if you could, please. So with chess, they kind of say that great chess players are able to see deeper into the chessboard than other people. If you can't play chess, just relate to the analogy that when you're first starting out with chess, you can only see one move ahead. Drop a yes in the chat if that makes sense to you. You can only see one move ahead, right? But for me, the better I've gotten at training and presenting, I'm not good, but I'm slowly getting better. For me, I'm always looking to think 3 to 5 steps ahead. So the next point, number 2, that you're going to write down is be 3 to 5 steps ahead. So when you first start out anything in life, basically you're like, first thing, oh, I need to get my PowerPoint up. I need to get the PowerPoint up, right? And that's your first step. But for me, when I'm looking to present, or as you grow and develop, you start to be able to think, okay, after that's happening, what's the next thing I'm doing? After that's happening, what's the next thing I'm doing, right? So earlier somebody said, I always look like I'm organized. Well, organized is subjective. However, I do have a very strong system to keep myself on track and always know what's happening 3 to 5 steps ahead. Now, you guys can't see it, but on my desk right now, I've actually got my syntax, what I'm going to say. I've also got a bunch of sticky notes. And sticky notes are your best friend as a presenter, because what you can actually do is after you cover off something, you can actually tick it off and you will see me scrunch up a sticky note, throw it in the bin. But that's a behind the scenes thing. You don't actually see that. And the cool thing with sticky notes is you can have them in your hand and people don't even see that you've got them in your hand. But I'm always focusing on the present, but I'm always knowing what are the next 2 to 5 things that I've got coming up. So I'm never stuck for, oh, what am I doing next? And I've always got, you may have noticed, I've always got the next emails primed, ready to go. So you're like, oh, where'd that come from? It's like they're already primed. They're not, oh, I need to do it now. It's already pre-done. Everyone drop a pre-done in the chat box for me if you could, please. PREDONE. Pre-done. It's already pre-done. It's already ready to go. And that's kind of how I like to live and deliver training. Be 3 to 5 steps ahead. And ultimately, that's always going to position you able to handle curveballs or things that happen out of the blue, right? So be 3 to 5 steps ahead. So for example, on my sticky notes, I've got a plan for a day. And as we cover off something, I'm just throwing that sticky note away and we've done that. We've covered that, right? So it keeps it really tight, really simple. And the other thing is I've got memory strategies to be able to memorize what I'm going to cover next, right? So just so we lock that one in there, folks, everyone drop a 3 to 5 in the chat box for me if you could, please. Drop a 3 to 5 in the chat. The other thing is it allows you to make sure that there is no jolting in the presentation. Everyone, drop a J in the chat for me if you could, please. Drop a J. Excellent. So what we often find is when people are first starting out, they will have jolting moments and it'll sound like this. Oh, what are we doing next? Oh, I don't know. Let me check my notes. Or, oh, yeah. Oh, so what's going on now? Drop a yes in the chat. Have you ever seen a jolting moment and there's no smooth transition? It's like, what am I doing next? I don't know, right? And it's the ultimate moment where people lose respect for you, but they also feel unsafe because people's hindbrains activate. They're like, whoa, something's going on here. The person, I'm no longer feeling safe in their presence, if that makes sense, right? So you want to avoid those jolting moments. So next one is language. Everyone drop an L for language in the chat box for me, if you could, please. There's the big heading and a big group of topics, right? But I've discovered that ultimately the levels of language that we're willing to use will dictate how far we grow. Now, in workshop 2, I told you, and we practiced a bunch of phrases. When I first said, drop a yes in it, don't do it. But the first time I ever did it, I was shitting myself. And I'm saying that for a purpose, just to get the point in your mind there. Excuse the language, but I need you to get it. The first time I said anything and got people to respond in the chat, I was very nervous. Why? Because I was stepping into a place of, can I actually say that and not upset the world and not die, right? And even would people be willing to do it, right? So anytime we're using the phrases that I've taught you, such as, would you agree that? Would it be a problem if? Raise your hand if, drop in the chat if. Any of that is very confronting for you, the presenter, when you first start using it. However, the more you use it, the more you get comfortable to use it. Drop a yes in the chat if that makes sense, right? When I first started presenting online, there's no way that I could do what I do right now, but it was a sense of just pushing through the hesitancy and the resistance, right? Now, compared to when I presented online very initially, very, very different. And that's why I feel very comfortable that I've written a book about it, and I can present very comfortably online. Before I used to start presenting online, I used to be a nervous wreck, but now I can click start, ready to go, ready to rock and roll, because I know how to create a safe learning environment and get people to respond. It's the structures that we put in place. However, the learning, for the language side of things, is the more you're willing to do it, the more people actually respond and actually feel safe when you actually use the language there. So everyone drop an L for language in the chat there if you could. Now, that's part A. Part B is practice your... Now, this is going to stretch you a little bit. It's going to be something that is going to take a little bit of work and conscious awareness around it. It's the word cadence. Everyone, drop the word cadence in the chat box for me if you could, please. Drop the word cadence in the chat. Now, I've just noticed something unique about myself, and it was actually only a couple of days ago I noticed this, right? I notice whenever I go to workshops as a student, or I go to, I don't know, little groups, I won't describe necessarily what they are, like men's groups or things like that. Whenever I seem to do my share, maybe you've been to a recovery group or a healing group or anything like that, whenever I seem to share, suddenly I capture the attention of the room. Now, it's not conscious that I'm doing it. However, I discovered, well, actually, my wife pointed out to me, she says, you know, Mark, whenever you seem to share, everyone just has their eyes on you. I'm like, yeah, I know, it's really weird. And then I discovered, after watching somebody else who also runs workshops, that it's highly likely it's my cadence. Now, the way that we describe cadence is basically the pace that you use, but also the pausing between your thoughts and the rise and fall of your tonality. Drop a yes in the chat if that makes sense to you. So for me, unconsciously, I've just really worked on my cadence. And as a result, when I pause, people are drawn into the conversation. And it's kind of unique and different because most people are living their lives, but they only ever speak at mono pace. Drop an R in the chat if you can relate to that most people around you speak at a mono pace, right? So it's not something to necessarily, think about all the time, but you do want to get to a point where you're starting to really draw people in to what you're saying by how you're saying it. Now, don't worry, I don't talk like this all of the time. However, when I am thinking about my answer, maybe I'm in a job interview or thinking like that, cadence is a really, really powerful tool. So next one And still in the world of language, is the world of storytelling. Everyone drop an S for storytelling in the chat box for me, if you could, please. Storytelling. Now, this is something I cover at the advanced course. However, with storytelling, the big thing that we often find is that when you're first starting out telling a story, you'll tell it in an okay-ish way. But we tell it in an okay-ish way because we don't really feel confident to tell a great story and know the mechanics to do that, right? And there's, just a couple of phrases that we can add into our stories to really make them come alive. And if you want to know that, I've got a video on it, or come along to the advanced course. But the biggest thing I want to encourage you to do is the amateur will tell content and then tell the story. The professional does the opposite. They tell story first, and then they tell the content. So story first, then tell content. Everyone drop a story first in the chat box for me, if you could, please. Story first. And let me just fix up the typo there. Story first. Okay. So that allows you to actually do some really cool things, because in the story first, you can actually start to embed the learnings that you want people to get and then tell the content. Both are powerful. However, story first, then content is going to be more powerful model. All right. So on that note, we've got language, we got cadence, and we got storytelling. So that was part 3 there. Drop in the chat which one really resonated with you so far with A, B, and C on the language side of things. The phrases, the cadence, and the storytelling. Drop in the chat which one is it for you, knowing that all of them are really important. B, beautiful, practice your cadence, excellent. All right. Cool. So next one that we're going to look at is something we've already talked about numerous times, is ask, then tell, ask, then tell, ask, then tell. So everyone drop an ask, then tell in the chat box for me, if you could, please. Ask, then tell, ask, then tell. Beautiful. So an amateur, when I first started out, I would do the tell, then ask, and then I would get the crickets in the room, and I would also get the pulling teeth moments, right? Instead, what you want to do is ask the group first, get their contributions, and then shape the ideas with them. And hopefully you noticed that when I taught you the feedback segment there earlier, I think it was yesterday, I told you the feedback segment, or I shared that with you, where we looked at what does bad feedback look like? Then you guys went into your breakout rooms. Then you guys came up with your ideas of what good feedback looks like. Then I presented you the model. Drop a yes in the chat if you remember doing that, and if you that makes sense to you there. Ask, then tell, ask, then tell, ask, then tell. I ain't telling you anything until you first give me something, all right? And it's a way to operate by the adult learning principles. Just so I know that you got that, drop an ask, then tell in the chat box for me for one more time, if you could, please. Cool. All right, so, okay. So the next thing I will, no, I'll come back to that one. So next thing I'm going to share with you is number 5. Number 5. Now, number 5 is, again, something I told you in workshop 2, but is all about being willing to change the dynamics. Everyone drop a D for dynamics in the chat box for me, if you could, please. Excellent. So number 5 is be willing to ask them to stand up and move. Stand up and move. Move it, right? And amateurs, when they first start out, they've got their blinkers and their limitations about what's acceptable and what is appropriate in the training room, right? However, crazily enough, the first time you ever get someone to move in the training room whoa, brand new things will happen for you because you'll suddenly realize no one died. All right. And it's that, whoa, I just did that. No one died moment that opens up new possibilities. Right. And unfortunately, many people get locked into the idea of training, it has to be this, or schooling, it has to be this, or lessons, me teaching has to look like this, be like this, until we suddenly have a moment of, I'm going to try something, see what happens. And it's like, whoa, if I just did that, what else would happen, right? So the dynamic completely shifts when you're willing to ask people to stand up and move around. Everyone, drop a stand up in the chat box for me if you could, please. All right. And even if I was teaching and I was sitting one-on-one next to someone, I would still have a moment of getting people to stand up, move around. Let's go and think about this problem from another angle. Let's go and stand up next to the window or whatever it may be, right? So creating movement matters, right? So next one, number 6 there is... one that we've talked about back in workshop 2 there, we had do each activity different to last time. All right, do each activity different each time. So get different people working with others, different time frames, and remember attention span is down to 3 minutes. So folks, number 6, if you want to write down, do each activity differently each time you do it. And hopefully you've been able to experience that with workshop 3, even with working with different people, lengths of time, going into rooms by yourself or with other people. I'm constantly looking to create variety there. So all right, so on that so far, we have got number 1, be flexible behind the scenes. Number 2, be 3 to 5 steps ahead and fall in love with sticky notes. Number 3, use language and give yourself permission to use the language. 3B, practice your, what's the word, folks? Drop a C in the chat. Practice your cadence. Excellent. Be willing to sound different. Storytelling, absolutely. Story first, then content. Then next, number 4, ask, then tell. Number 5, be willing to ask them to stand up and move. And number 6, do each activity differently. Drop in the chat. So far from 1 to 6, which ones really stood out to you so far? Go for a team. Which ones really stood out? Could be any at all. It could be all of them. Kurt's gone 2. Awesome. 3. Excellent. And with 3, you only get the results if you use it. 5. Excellent, Beck. 5. Nice. Okay. Awesome. So now we're going to head to number 7 here, folks. So I'm going to come down and let's check out number 7. All right. Number 7 is a tricky one. And it's called effectively balance high fun and high performance. All right. So I'll drop this in the chat for you there. And once you've written that down, just drop a D in the chat for me if you could. Effectively balance fun and high performance. Once you've written that down, just drop a D in the chat. That'd be great for me. Okay. Cool. So, time for a story. There was a time when I was delivering some training to some firefighters, right? Now, I love firefighters, put every comment aside. There was 12 firefighters. However, this was online and it was on Teams, and all of them knew each other very, very, very well. So drop a yes in the chat if you think maybe there's a lot of camaraderie in that group and there was a lot of banter going on. Like they were having a great time, and it was like for them being, off the trucks, it was like, yay, cool, we're off the trucks, right? However, we had a lot of things to get through. And it was a very delicate situation in the sense I had to be able to create productivity, but also enjoy the fun, but not destroy the atmosphere. Everyone drop an F for fun in the chat box if that makes sense, right? And it was just a moment of, I need to tread very carefully. I need to keep it fun, but we need to get stuff done as well. And it was a level of banter that I never seen before, and a lot of swearing going on. Okay, and a lot of people, saying various things about each other, but I couldn't ruin the vibe, but we still had to get things done. So I've just noticed over time, one of the things you have to get very good at is being able to balance fun and high performance. And so basically what I say about that, and I'll make this as big as I can, is essentially have fun cracking jokes at yourself and make the environment fun, but don't tolerate anything. Set the performance standards super high, affirm what you want throughout, and keep the environment safe. So you may want to write something down from that, totally up to you. But I consider that my way of operating, right? And this is an area that a lot of people struggle in. I don't, but it's only because of the frames that I have in my mind. So another quick story around this for you is that a trainer has to control the frame. The trainer controls the frame. And you may want to grab a pen and write that down. The trainer controls the frame. So many years ago, when I first started back in, I think it was about 2013, 14, I had a scenario I will never, ever forget. I was delivering training in Melbourne at the Marriott Hotel, and I had about 25 learners in a face-to-face class. I was doing my self intro. We're about 6 minutes in, and somebody knocked on the door of the hotel that we were, like the venue, and they knocked on the door there. And one of the students got up, and they and you need to take this comment with a grain of salt. Know that it was a very joking comment, and it was a bit of a class clown. So don't be offended by the comment. Just take in what the scenario was. Hopefully you'll appreciate that, right? So the student, class clown, opened the door and they said, literally verbatim, "Don't interrupt. We are manufacturing drugs." Everyone drop an A for awkward if you think that might have been a little bit awkward in that moment for not just me, but for the entire room, right? It was fucking awkward, right? So this student opened the door, "Hey, don't come in, we're cooking drugs." And I'm like, fuck me. And now the thing was, though, everybody, in order to avoid the tension, everybody cracked into laughter. In that moment, I made the conscious choice to not laugh at all, and I held the space. And I just let everybody laugh, get it out of their system, and then I just said, "Cool, are we done?" And I just let that hold and let that sink, and everyone's like, "Yeah, cool, we're done." And then we moved on. If I had laughed along with everyone else, drop a yes in the chat if you can see how I had to hold the frame. I'm like, "You guys done?" Yeah, beautiful, right? So if we don't hold the frame, then very quickly we lose the frame, right? It's an event I will never, ever forget. However, as a result of holding the frame, eventually the class clown fell into line and did what he was required to do there, which was awesome. And he was one of the best students by the end of it. However, he tested the boundaries, right? So number 7, effectively balance fun and high performance. Drop in the chat. What did you discover? What did you realize? What did you get from number 7 there? Could be anything at all. What really stands out to you there? It could be my comment about holding a frame, or whatever you choose to drop in the chat would be great for me as I make this a little bit smaller. What did you discover? What did you realize from number 7 there? Hold the frame. Beautiful. And hold it. Fun is important, but still need to get the work done. So true, Curtis. So true. Set the standard. Absolutely. And I won't start cracking jokes until generally around day 3.5, 4. Yeah, got to balance it. Beautiful. Yeah, nice. Yeah, absolutely, Brad. Absolutely. Particularly if they all work together. And yeah, that can lead to a lot more banter, which is fine, but you've got to hold the frame. And yeah, I'm fine with it. I love firefighters, and every course I have a firefighter in my course. So totally cool with that. I love face-to-face, love online, but there's dynamics you got to work with. Cool. Beautiful. All right. So who's getting some value from some of these so far? Drop a V for value if you're getting some value from it so far. All right. Awesome. Maybe you are. Maybe you aren't. It's totally fine. So next one is number 8. Number 8 here is read the personalities and use them to your advantage. Everyone drop a P in the chat for personalities. So I guess when an amateur first starts out, they feel like a victim to the people in the room. And I guess as your confidence grows, that is when you start to discover, I guess, what you are really capable of in regards to playing chess. Now, I've known you guys over, nearly 3 workshops now, which have been awesome. And I've got another group next week that I've been working with, and I already know who to call on, when to call on, and what predictably they're going to say when they say it, right? So in regards to the whole point of streetwise mastery and what I'm going through right now is just areas to look at when you are looking to grow yourself, right? So already when you're looking at delivering a session, all right, you walk in, be consciously aware of who's in the room, what are the personalities, pick your pragmatists, know who your activists are, know who your reflectors are, and know who your theorists are, and just work with them, right? So on the screen there, I've just given you some reminders. Pragmatists, jump in, have a go, love to do it. Activists, they like to test the boundary conditions of the learning environment. However, once you build their trust, they will become your biggest advocates, right? Reflectors, they like to sit back and watch, and they don't like to go first. Theorists, they like to be very technical, and they love to get the details just right. And just be aware, once you know that, you don't take anything personally. Then you come back up to the top there, first person, positive person, you get that person to share. First of all, negative person in the middle, and then last person, you land on a positive person there as well. As I share that, drop in the chat, what are you being reminded of? Maybe you're being reminded, oh, yeah, the old pragmatists, or, oh, yeah, reflectors, or maybe, oh, yep, I'm one of those. Drop in the chat, what you realize around personalities? Because once you get this, whoa, things really get very exciting and open up for you, because you start to go, ooh, how can I create the amazing learning experience for my learners? The order, awesome. Yeah, nice. All right. And yes, I've used it with you guys. Of course I have. Why wouldn't I? That'd be weird. All right. Cool. Yeah, nice, Kylie. Love it. Love it. Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, nice. Yeah, beautiful. I love how you put that help or hinder. I love it. I love it. Yeah, and the more you appreciate this, the less you take things in life personally or you judge or anything like that. Yeah, yeah, awesome. That's all I say about that. So we'll come down, and at number 9 here, folks, number 9 is set your intention each day. Set your intention. Everyone drop an I for intention in the chat for me, if you could, please. Drop an I for intention. So I don't think I've got one around here. Oh, yeah, I do. So basically on a sticky note, every single time I present, I have a sticky note that I write on, which basically sets my intention for today or for a session I am delivering. And that could be something like be even more grounded, or breathe, or let's see, create more safety. Whatever the session requires, I'm going to drop onto a sticky note, and I'm going to come back to my intention. And essentially, this is a life hack that my mentor shared with me, that whenever you are in a place of fear, come back to your intention. Whenever you're in a place of fear, come back to your intention. I'll say it again. Whenever you're in a place of fear, doubt or worry, come back to your intention. And I used to have that written on the back of my door at the paramedic college when we were going through audit and every other single day. When you're in a place of fear, come back to your intention. And I used to set my intention for one-on-one conversations. Maybe it was be curious more, or it was understand the other person deeper, or it was be even more confident in who I am. All right. So for me, it's just common practice every single time I present. So not next week. So next, not this weekend, but the weekend after, I have my advanced course. Every day I'll be setting my intention, and I'll be getting my learners set their intention before they present as well. So really important and really, really powerful. Because at the end of the day, when we wake up with no intention, we get whatever we get. When we set your intention, guess what? The universe or God or whatever you like to do brings what you set out to create for others and yourself then. So set your intention. Everyone drop an I for intention in the chat box for me if you could, please. And don't worry, I'm not going to get any more woo-woo than that. However, a really, really powerful thing to do. So next one, number 10, is have a healthy perspective about things. Have a healthy perspective, right? Now, this kind of goes without saying. However, I'm going to make this a little bit bigger for us so that you guys can see it. Okay, have a healthy perspective. So number 10, if you're writing things down, number 10 is have a healthy perspective, right? So let me just make this a little bit smaller so it fits on the screen there. Cool. So stay humble. You're not the best, but you're working towards it. And this comes from the idea that as soon as you think you are good, you become complacent. As soon as you think you're good, you become complacent. Everyone drop a C for complacent in the chat if you could for me, please. Because as soon as I think I've got everything under control, I'm like, oh, nah. Missed that, right? So next thing, be willing to say things a different way. I have noticed that basically great trainers actually have great self-awareness and are willing to actually take responsibility for how they come across, and they're willing to say things a different way. Next, stay curious and basically remind yourself, I don't know the full story. I really don't know what's going on for any one of you outside the class. And if you're late or anything's going on or whatever, I need to remind myself, I don't know the full story. So it would be remiss, like it would be hubris or arrogant of me to jump to a conclusion without all of the full information. Next one is never take training role for granted. We've talked about that. And never take yourself too seriously, because there's always better and different ways that we can do what we do. So from number 10 there, drop in the chat, what have you discovered? What are you taking away from number 10 there? Drop in the chat what you got. Drop in the chat what you've taken away from number 10. Have a healthy perspective, team. Yeah, stay curious. Yeah, beautiful. We're never going to be perfect. Excellent. All we can do is get a little bit better, a little bit better, a little bit better. Excellent. Choose your words. Excellent. Be willing to say things differently. Ooh. Oh, Kylie. I'm going to have to heart that. Beautiful. And Curtis, I love that. I love that. Choose your words. Yeah, you're not the best, but you're working towards it. Beautiful. Remain versatile. Very cool. Very cool. So on that, we're now going to come back, and up till now, we're just going to look at 7 to 10. So number 7, effectively balanced fun and high performance. We had number 9, set your intention. Number 10, have a healthy perspective. That took many years for me to get. And something I need to constantly work and remind myself about. What I would like you to do is drop in the chat, which one out of 7 to 10 has really stood out to you there? So we've got number 7, have a balanced fun and productivity. Number 8, read the personalities in the room, personalities. And then number 9, intention. And then 10, healthy perspective. Yeah, read the room. Beautiful, Kylie. Awesome. Cool. Anne's gone 5. Be willing to stand up, move around. Cool. Excellent. Brad's gone 8. Definitely reading the room, read the personalities. Beautiful. Yeah, nice, Beck. And set your intention. Love it. All right, cool. So next one that we're going to look at is number 11. Drop an 11 in the chat if you could for me, please. Drop an 11 in the chat. Now, the 11 is the most boring thing I could ever say to you. However, it is the thing that makes all the difference, right? So I would say that the number 11 is the biggest reason why people actually don't get better. It's the biggest reason why people don't actually have high performance as trainers. Now, it's not necessarily relevant to you guys as teachers unless you are actually doing presentations with an intent behind it. What I mean by that is if you're asked to do a presentation for a particular reason, number 11 is really important. If you're asked to do a keynote, number 11 is really important. If you are asked to actually train a group of important people, number 11 is really, really important. And if you adopt number 11, you will be seen very differently. You'll be seen as a professional as opposed to someone that just does it casually, right? So number 11 is, sorry, it's very boring, but it is the word rehearse. Everyone drop the word rehearse into the chat box for me if you could, please. Rehearse. Now, again, you're like, that's boring. I'm never doing that. I would rather just do it on the day and see what happens, right? However, rehearse is actually what allows you to do exceptionally well on the day. So for me, excuse me, I've got my advanced course coming up in 2 weekends' time. What am I doing this weekend? What am I doing for 2 hours on Saturday and 2 hours on Sunday? Drop in the chat. What do you think I'm doing? Like, it's on the fucking screen. I am rehearsing, right? So I am picking out certain segments of the workshop and I am going over it in my mind, going over and over and over and over and over. So the way I actually create a presentation is I don't script it. I never script it. What I do is I create my bullet points using my chunks that I've taught you guys. And if you ever want to read my book, there's more chunks. But basically, I create my pillars and my chunks, and then I practice saying it. And then I kind of flow with the words and I find what words really land effectively. And I write that down and I'll record myself and I'll keep doing what's working. And so I rehearse every segment. So by the time I get to the day, for this one coming up, I think I've rehearsed it 9.5 times so far. Now, for big presentations, definitely I am rehearsing a lot, right? So ultimately, the more you do it, the more you can then tie it back to number 2 there, which allows you to be 3 to 5 steps ahead. All right. So that's only really relevant if you're in a presenting capacity or you need to do it. But really, really great thing to take on board. And everything changed for me once I started to do number 11 there. So you can practice just a little bits like your self-intro, first line of the session, your stories, whatever you want to perform, rehearse. That is great for me. Everyone drop an R for rehearsal in the chat for me if you could, please. Okay, cool. So next one is one that we've talked about back in workshop 2, which is that of chunks. Everyone drop a C for chunks in the chat for me if you could, please. Chunks. So this is the idea that great trainers think in chunks, and simplicity is a gift. Simplification is a gift. We don't look to complicate it. We look to make things as simple as possible, to walk away, remember, and we don't look to like to overcomplicate things, right? So over time, as you journey along your journey to mastery, knowing you never master anything, you're just committed to walking on the journey, you discover that pros, they just think in chunks and more chunky than anyone else, if that makes sense. Beautiful. All right, so next one, number 13. Number 13 is about inspiring action, And this is the idea that if somebody can't see it in their own mind, they will never move towards it. If they can't see it in their own mind, they will never move towards it. If they can't see it in their own mind, they can't move towards it. And I might have told you the story about Wayne Dyer. There was a little boy that once went to Wayne Dyer, his spiritual guru, and said to Wayne Dyer, I'm not going to reenact it or anything because it'll come across offensive. But the little boy said to Wayne Dyer, could you help me stop stuttering? Could you help me stop stuttering? And Wayne Dyer, in all of his wisdom, said to the little boy, can you actually see yourself in the future not being able to stutter? And the little boy thought about it for a moment. He said, no, I can't actually see myself doing that. And then Wayne Dyer said, well, probably can't help you then. So in that story, in that moment, it really reinforced that if the participants can't see themselves actually creating a new future or living into the new future, then the change will not actually take place. Drop a yes in the chat if that makes sense to you there, folks. If they can't see it in their minds, they're not actually going to change. If they can't see it and they can't see it from you, they're not going to change. So the key word to create that is the word imagine, the word imagine. Everyone, drop the word imagine into the chat box for me if you could, please. So the more times that we can use the word imagine and light people's imagination up, the more they're going to create change for themselves, which is fantastic, right? So imagine as you go forward with this new level of confidence with all of these strategies, these ideas, these tools, these tactics, walking into a training room, knowing that you've rehearsed all the things that you need to say, you've simplified it, you're feeling confident, and you're able to share your message with the world in a way that truly impacts and inspires. So next one, number 14 there, is coming down, is one of my absolute favorites, and that is simply the regular use of my favorite phrase that you guys have already heard quite a few times, and that is the phrase, and you'll probably know it when you see it. Everybody, grab a pen and write this down. The more comfortable you get used to using that phrase, the more you'll get comfortable using that phrase and the more dynamic that you will be. So grab a pen and write this down. Just so I know that you got that, drop that in the phrase in the chat one more time. Grab a pen and write this down. My wife told me about a workshop she went to last week at work, and she said that the trainer reminded her of me because the trainer constantly was using that expression, grab a pen and write this down. I thought it was really cool. And that's what sparked the cadence conversation there as well, which is really awesome. All right, folks. Now, the last point, the very last one that makes all of the difference. Everyone, drop a V for visualize in the chat box for me, if you could, please. Drop a V for visualize. All right. Okay. Now, many of you may or may not present in a professional capacity, but I have found that visualization has been one of the healthiest and really effective ways, visualize, for me to get over my nerves and ultimately create the success I've wanted to, right? So, for example, when I did a conference presentation and at the end of it, I was selling my book, days before I did the presentation, I sat down and I visualized people coming up to me at the end of the presentation and wanting to buy a copy of the book. Days before, I visualized myself and where I was moving in the room, how I was talking, how I was feeling. Because very early on, one of my mentors once said, in life, you will only ever get what you see in your mind. And it really planted the idea that ultimately you get what you expect. And it really reminded me I could expect it to go one way, and it probably will, or I could visualize it and I could energize the experience with thinking in my mind, how would I love it to go? And highly likely that's going to help it go that way. So on that note, we have coming up here, we've had just coming up to number 10, number 11. We'll come back up. So we've got have a healthy perspective. All right. Then we came down, we got rehearse, rehearse, rehearse if you choose to, if you want to. If you got an occasion that would require that. If you don't, that's okay. Just put that one aside there. Then we've got think in chunks, use the word imagine, grab a pen and write this down. And last of all, we got visualize your own success when you are presenting. So on that note, you guys are going to into a breakout room. And hopefully you've taken some notes. If you haven't, that's okay. I'm sure your partner has. And what you're going to do is you're simply going to share with your partner, out of this list, what were two that really stood out to you, knowing probably all of them were valuable, but maybe there's two that really that you want to work on going forward as you continue on your journey there, folks. So on that note, head to your rooms and I'll bring you back in about 2.5 minutes. Share you two that have really landed for you and go for it. Alrighty, welcome back, team. Welcome back. We're going to check in with some people and speak on behalf of yourself as we travel through this. So I'm going to come over to, let's go with Troy first of all. Troy's going to unmute himself. As you going to say, for me personally, the one that really stood out was, and tell us what the thing was, or it could have been a thing related to that thing. Troy, over to you. Go for it.
Yeah, for me, I went with number one, be flexible behind the scenes. So just I had a go at a presentation there the other week, and questions got thrown at me and put me on the spot a bit. So it was like just that ability to think fast, make the changes, be able to roll with it, I think is a skill that would like to be able to learn. Yeah.
Nice. Well said. Well said. And we'll do acknowledgements all at the end there. And awesome. I love that. I'm going to come over to Byron next. Go for it, Byron. What you got, Byron?
Yep. So I liked the understanding the individual learners and basing your teachings around that, and then using humor, but don't lose the classroom. Keep it appropriate. Yep.
Nice. Excellent. Curtis, over to you. Go for it.
So for me, it was being 3 to 5 steps ahead. Just making sure the presentation flows smoothly and not wasting everyone's time.
I like it. I like it. Betsy, over to you. Go for it.
For me, it was practice cadence and rehearse. Rehearse is one of the things which I will fall all the time, I think, when I go for something.
Nice. I love it. All right, folks. So I'm going to keep checking with people, but I do want to give you a radical tip. Everyone drop an R for radical in the chat box for me if you could, please. A radical tip. And I was debating whether or not I shared this with you previously. So, with number 2 here, it's be 3 steps ahead. Now, this thing here, sometimes people wonder, how do I do that? How do I make that work for myself, right? So I want to give you a tip around number 2 there, be 3 to 5 steps ahead. And a way to avoid the jolting. So I've typed in the chat box for you. When you need to do something, get them to do something. Type that in the chat box there for me if you could, please. When you need to do something, get them to do something. When you need to do something, get them to do something. When you need to do something, get them to do something. What do you think that might mean there, folks? Drop in the chat. What do you think that might mean as I type that in? What do you think it might mean? I mean, it is pretty much self-evident. But yeah, it gives you time. Beautiful, Rob. Beautiful. So if I need to do something, there may be a moment like, shit, I need to do something. You guys are going to a breakout room. But I never phrase it that way. Or if I need to do something, we're going to a break. And when we're going to a break, I'm doing something. But you will never know I'm doing the thing when I'm doing the thing. Just drop a yes in the chat if that makes sense to you. So where amateurs go wrong is they go, oh, can you give me a moment here? Or they'll make a big deal out of it, or it'll be jolty. But it's seamless when you guys are doing something, I'm getting ready for the next thing. When you guys are doing it, I'm getting ready for the next thing, right? So that's the way that we become 3 to 5 steps ahead, right? So next one, we're going to come over to Beck. Beck, if you could share out of 1 to 15 there, what's one that really stood out to you? Go for it, Beck.
So simple, but especially in the space that I'll be working, special ed and possibly teaching active volunteering, grab a pencil and write this down. And also really good at helping students set their intentions, but no, not so much me. So I'll be working on that.
I like it. I like it. I love it. Very cool. Very cool. Awesome. So that was that. And now, Anne, over to you. Go for it, Anne.
The first one that I think I need to do more of is absolutely the visualize the success. I think that's a really powerful one, and how much can come from that. And then I also think use the personalities in your room to your advantage. Everyone has their strengths, and you need to make sure that you're, picking those strengths and going with it and allowing everyone to achieve.
Really cool. Really well said. Really nice. Dan, over to you. Go for it, Dan.
Yeah, the one that mainly stood out to me was read the personalities. So number 8, and use them to your advantage. So obviously in every situation, we're going to have a different kind of group of people in all situations. So just getting the most out of people in that way.
Nice. I like it. I like it. Kylie, over to you. Go for it, Kylie.
For me, there were two things because a lot of the training that I'll be doing next year is kind of theory. It's a real knowledge dump. So how do they take all of that knowledge away? So using the chunking so that they can remember that nice and quickly and easily, but also trying to inspire action, because I think everyone can be guilty of walking out knowing a lot of stuff and then not actually applying it to their workplace. So trying to help them figure out how they can take action with the knowledge they've acquired.
Very cool. Very cool. Rob, over to you. Go for it, Rob.
Yeah, I had a couple. Standing up and moving the body around, moving around the room, keeping the learners engaged. But also, I did like the language part, storytelling. So yeah, add a story in, link it up. Once again, it keeps the learner engaged.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Brad, over to you. Go for it, Brad.
Yeah, so just relating it back to my work and the people I train, you already touched on fireys. You need to balance the fun and the performance. The other one that stood out to me in regards to that is be willing to get them to stand up and move around. They can't sit still for very long, so you need to add in lots of movement and practical stuff.
Really cool. Really cool. Everyone, drop an AJ in the chat for awesome job. Love it, love it, love it. Thank you so much for sharing. And hopefully you got some value from it. And I'm going to do something a little bit daunting, but I'm going to open frame it. And you don't necessarily need to say value, but I'd love you to share in the chat. Did you find them interesting? Did you find them insightful? Drop it in adjective in the chat. How did you find these 15 items here going forward? Some things to think about. Were they helpful? Were they informative? What were they for you? Useful? Excellent, excellent, cool. What else, team? Drop an adjective in the chat. And don't worry, I'm not going to be offended, whatever you say. The degree that you run with these will be how far you go with things. Intentional. Oh, I like that word. Empowering. Very cool, Kylie. Very cool. Good reminders. Nice. Nice. Alrighty, folks. So the way we're going to do the next segment is we're actually going to take a break, right? So we're going to take a break and we're going to come back in about, in a period of time. And when we come back, I'm going to do some closing comments and then we're going to transition into our one-on-one conversation. So by my clock, it is 11:15. We're going to come back at 11:25, folks. Back at 11:25. Everyone, can you drop an 11:25 in the chat? That'd be great for me if you could do that.